Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the bridge. We have a wonderful guest with us today, Terri Cornish. She's going to introduce herself a little bit more formally in a minute so you know more about her. She's got a great business. And this is season 5, episode 11. So we're moving ahead. And Sandy, what have you got for us today, quote-wise?
I think we're going to use the one by Michael J. Fox because it is so pertinent. We've used it several times in the last few podcasts, but it covers a lot of territory. It says, acceptance doesn't mean resignation. It means understanding that something is what it is, and there's got to be a way through.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, that applies to so many situations.
Right.
Well, Terri, I was telling Sandy just a minute ago, Terri and I found out as we were getting to know each other that I taught with her sister for years, and we didn't know that. So we have another connection, which is wonderful. But Terri, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, I love the synchronicities and so on, and it totally goes along with the quote as well.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that more in a minute. But about me, I am a positive leadership coach. And so positivity is huge. And of course, things like grief don't seem to go along with that. But I'm going to show you how they did. And I am going to be 79 next month.
Wow.
And my mom is 98. I have known that I am going to have a very long life. I have pictures of 5 generations with me on my mom's knee.
Oh, how cool is that?
And so that's one thing that I will tell you guys is to think about that however young you feel, and you will find that you can act that way and just have a really, really long, enjoyable life.
Yeah.
So I'll say that.
I think you need to form that into a quote, Terri. Send it. We'll put your name under it.
I will. That's a really great idea. I'll do that.
I do. Yeah, because that's your mindset is all. That's just perfect. And
Right.
5 generations, isn't it? Boy, that's rare.
That is, and it's really interesting because that was on my mom's side, and of course she's 98 and still with us. I talk to her every night, and up by Lakewood there, where Patty lives. And what was I going to say there? That it is. I have lived in 5 different countries.
Wow.
So lots of changes, and with lots of changes in life and relationships and careers and everything, there is a way to be looking positive. And as far as grief, there was a lot of moving in my first marriage. I was married for 30 years with my first husband. We met in high school, and after 30 years, he decided to fall in love with someone else and wanted us both. And I said, no, thank you.
Thank you. Good choice.
And we were living in Honduras at the time.
Wow.
So I moved back to the United States and started a whole new life. And that was one of the, I would say there was lots of grief too with the moves, and that you tend not to have the relationships that other people have. Like my sister Patty has had. She started school where she is and still has friends from when she was in kindergarten. So my life was very different in that respect. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing. Military families are similar. My first husband was a mining engineer, metallurgy, and they called that underground military. Because we moved so often.
Sure.
So that's how it got to the 5 countries and so on.
Wow.
So that whole part was really different than most people. And then, of course, after I divorced, I still loved him, but it's like moving on. And how do you do that? And I remember that at first he would he would call me once a week, and I quickly said, I can't do this, because I would be feeling like I just feeling a little more balanced, and he'd call me, and then it would all go back to,
Right.
I can't do this. So, and then, so I went looking for a new love, and it was really interesting because I was journaling. How am I going to know who's the right person, and so on. And what I got is, this was really crazy. What came through was, you will see a double rainbow in the sky. And I went, what? I've never seen a double rainbow in my life. Does that mean I'm never going to find another love? And what was really interesting is that when I met Robert, he invited me up to Oregon, coincidentally, and where he was a race car driver and a coach. And we went out to dinner that night, and Oregon has a tendency to have a lot of rain, and there was a double rainbow in this.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Sign in the sky.
So
I love it.
Signals from the spirit, God, universe, whatever you want to call it, that this was the one. And it really felt like that. We just had this really fantastic relationship for 23 years.
Wow.
And unfortunately, he died. He was ill for a number of years with prostate cancer, but that's not what he died of. He found a way to help with that in Germany. They have a different methods of handling cancer. And so he was doing really well until COVID happened, and he was set, money paid, etc., to go to Germany again. And the day before he was to leave, they closed flights.
Oh.
And so he wasn't able to do that. So that later came back. But as I said, that's not what he died from. He died from a stroke. And so one Thursday afternoon, we took him to the hospital, and that Monday morning he was gone.
Oh my.
They did find out when he got to the hospital that his prostate cancer was back, and had spread to everything. So it was, I kind of felt like it was a blessing, because he would have hated having to deal with that. And he was having a lot of memory challenges as well. So that just things, if I look back, that's
a blessing in disguise.
a blessing in disguise.
Absolutely.
But it was, of course, a shock.
Mm-hmm.
And later on, I'll tell you more, that I found out that it's actually a form of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, like our veterans get when they come back from war. Well, I did not know that at the time. And I know that you guys often use the 5 forms of grief and so on. And I played with that myself, and it just didn't fit. And that's something that I look at with my values. My first value is spirituality, just listening to my wise inner guidance and spirit. My second is being authentic to myself. And my third is, and that's a huge part of that. And my third is health. Used to be love was next, but after I had a severe bout of food poisoning, I moved health up one, and then love was the second. So I was still again looking for love after that. But that shock, which happened so quickly, you just don't know what to do. And what I later found out, a friend, 2 things happened. I had a client I've been working with for a long time, and they were hit on the freeway by a great big truck and ended up with a brain injury, which has since healed. But as they went through the process, I noticed that the things that they had going on were very similar to what I was happening with grief. They had lots of memory loss, irritation, just couldn't cope with the world, And fortunately, they found someone synchronistically that worked with people that had brain injuries like that and were able to solve it. And at the same time, within a week or so, a friend of mine who had also had grief, and I met her in a marketing group, sent me an article she found that grief was a form of PTSD.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
And so starting to look at that, because what I was doing was really looking at how can I cope with this, because I am a very positive person and looking for solutions rather than digging the hole deeper of the challenge that I'm in. And so I started more looking at the fact that if this PTSD, what do I do? And one of the things that I did was that someone suggested that meditation would help. So fairly on, I started just kind of the regular kind of meditation, listening to music and so on, which was calming, but did not have the effect that I later discovered. And as I said, I was looking at how can I calm this, etc. And I came across a free 30-day, it was a heart brain coherence meditation program where every day during those 30 days, they gave you a different person that was doing meditations. And one of them was Dawson Church. And he has a special meditation called ECO meditation. And I listened to it and it's like, that's very interesting. But what do I do with this? And I mean, but I was trying the different meditations. And so I still remember the day that I first tried it. By the way, my husband Robert died in January 16th, 2023. And yes, you always know what date it was. And so in March of that year, I decided to try this meditation. And that day was one of those crazy days where things went wrong. And I looked at my American Express charges, which I hadn't looked at for a while. There was a charge, this was in March, of something that I had started in October. Was supposed to be one of these things, you try it for a month. If you don't like it, you can cancel it, etc., which I had done. I had talked to them on the phone, etc. And here was a charge, not just, it was a charge every single month. Mm. And so I called them, and they were no longer taking phone calls. I had to email them. I was just really irritated. And it's one of those things that's like, enough already. I was actually shouting at the room. And I decided that day to try Dawson Church's, what he calls echo meditation. Sorry. And I went from that being incredibly irritated to not only calm, not only peaceful, but blissful.
Wow.
In a matter of a half an hour. Ever since that day, that was March 2023, almost every single day, including this morning, I have done that meditation. He has meditations that are 15 minutes long. He has meditations that are 20, 30 minute long. And they're amazing. And what I discovered working with him and so on, because he's got a couple of books, which I'll tell you about in a minute as well, that he uses 7 different modalities in the meditation. So he uses emotional freedom technique, which is a tapping method on the different parts. Many of you have seen that. Some of you haven't. But he uses that. And one of the things that was huge was that he suggested that you calm your tongue. Just calm your tongue. What I recognized even the first time I did that I had been clenching my teeth. I was running through life just clenching my teeth. and I'll go back to January 23 and forward, and I was just so stressed out.
Sure.
And how in the world do I continue on that I much would have preferred not to wake up in the morning.
Right.
And and I tried a number of the normal things that to do, like I said, like regular meditation. And I went to a couple of therapists. I went to one for about 2 months, and she wanted me to. I think that was the one that felt that I was just wanting to replace my husband. And it's like, no, you don't ever replace. The other one wanted that I later went on to insisted on going back and looking at my childhood. It's like, no, I'm dealing with what's going on now. So both of those I said goodbye to. So there were things like that I was dealing with. And also I discovered along this way that grief of a soulmate usually on average takes 5 to 8 years to get to a balance again. And it's like the way I was feeling, kill me now. Mm-hmm. So finding something with like this echo meditation was just miraculous. So as I said, there was the EFT, there was the trying to think of all of these pieces as we talk. The EFT and it's calming your tongue. Another one, and this is marvelous for everyone. I mean, you are about to go into a business meeting or have a conversation with someone, or can also be used. You go into the doctor's office, they're about to take your blood pressure. You simply do this. You breathe in for the count of 6.
Yeah.
And breathe out the count of 6. Do that 3 times. Changes everything. So you're doing that in the middle of this echo meditation as well. So that and several other things, but highly, highly recommend it. Really good thing to know is that you can do this for free. Just look up Dawson Church, which is DAWSON and Church, and Echo, ECO meditation.
I'll put that in our notes.
Great. And Dawson himself has studied meditation since he was a kid. He was had an unhappy childhood and ran away from home, I remember. He ended up at one point going to India and studying this kind of stuff and started doing meditation, but he did this for years. So he didn't come up with this immediately. But
Sorry, I have to play with the screen and get you so we can see you better.
I moved a little bit too.
That's okay.
And so he studied it for years, and he put all of these things together, and he did studies of the effects of it and found out that people live 10 years longer.
Wow, sure.
They have this calmness about them. They have way less disease. Of course, that helps you not live longer, etc. But also you'll find that you're happier. You are more productive at work. I mean, I started making this list of things that it helped, and it was blooming amazing. So I use it with my clients, and I'll use it all the time. So and continue to do it.
Yeah, you have a toolbox. Things to use. That's wonderful. Terri, I noticed that you're very self-aware and you know if stuff is right for you or not.
Right, that authenticity piece.
Yeah, that's just terrific. And I don't know. I wonder when your book's coming out. You can start with a quote, but don't start there. You can make that your goal of your 80s, right?
Right. Well, I do have a book on intuition that I that I wrote some years ago.
Yeah.
But that's I've gone on, and that might be a good thing to do. So, but I wanted to say some more things about what I did, and you'll have to pardon me right now. I have discovered that I have sleep apnea, and it is affecting my memory.
Sure, sure. Well, Terri, a couple of things. My mind is just going crazy because I'm always thinking of new things to come on our podcast. And you got me thinking about one of our new series is coming up is going to be called Transitions. And you've got many of those. The next one that just popped up yesterday, I'm calling cultural listening. And I'm thinking you've been in many countries, but also working with different businesses. You're doing a type of cultural listening.
Right.
And then one thing that I want to do with people like you that I think we really want to have back is give you the spotlight to do a mini lesson for us of something,
Okay.
And maybe even coach someone,
Right.
with your method. But
I do have a method that I use with everyone called the 5 What's Right questions that raises people's energy, and that is an important part of it. And I wanted to say, that I found two loves at once when I found Robert. He also introduced me to coaching, but he was very, very positive, and he almost died 2 years before he did. And when he discovered that he had, the doctor had called me and said he wouldn't be there in the morning. It was that serious. He said that he wanted to do something. So he created a Facebook group called Conscious Optimism Movement. And I have taken that over. It's free online on Facebook, Conscious Optimism Movement. And I am growing that in his honor, his legacy. And it's really wonderful. A couple of other things that I actually realize now I wrote notes is that when Robert first died, I had a friend whose husband had died 10 years before, and she told me about a program called Soaring Spirits, and which is free, and you can find it at widowedvillage.org, and it is for people that have lost a spouse. And it is absolutely fantastic. So that's the first thing that I started that was different than normal grief help. And still have, I eventually started working with one of their coaches who is not free, but it's been absolutely fantastic to work with. And he actually lost his first love of his life and knows what it's about. So that's really interesting. And then I had another coach that suggested John Gray's work. You may remember him from Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus.
Sure.
And he also lost his wife and knows about grief. And so he was amazing. And reading his books and so on, he talks about the fact that love is one of the absolute needs that we have in life. And we get caught up on the fact that when we lose our person, that it's gone forever. And the reality is that love can be there in so many ways. And just to let you know, and I don't want to go on here forever, is that I did start looking for a new love and got on internet dating sites. And I'm counting now that just in a few days, it will be 6 months that I have been remarried. And so this is since 2023, so it happened very fast. And I counted how many people I talked to, and he was the 67th person. Again, I don't give up to making sure that this is someone that I'm not settling.
Yeah. And what I know about you, even though I don't know you well, is that you have a strong intuition and you believe it and move towards it, and that's powerful.
Yes.
That's one of the things that I tell young coaches is that, use your intuition, even in coaching, but also in life.
Oh, totally.
Trust it.
Wise inner guidance. Yeah. There's a whole thing that I can tell you about that at another time. But one thing more that I wanted to share with you is that my new husband George also lost a love of his life, and it's really interesting. He came up with this early on in our relationship because we were having things that just happened coincidentally over and over again. It's like, how in the world did that happen?
Mhm.
How did that happen? He says, well, his gal's name was Victoria, and he called her Tori. And he said, Tori and Robert are on the other side doing this for us.
Yeah.
And it's just, that has made, that they're both still with us. We don't mind having their pictures around and everything else. It's very different from a lot of people who feel guilty and all kinds of things like that. So
Yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Well, and one of the things that I think is interesting, Terry, you talked about moving and going to 5 different countries and how that was an adventure, but at the same time there was grief wrapped around that because you didn't get to be as solid in your community as you might have been because you weren't just staying there. And we have talked throughout our podcast about the fact that blessings can also hold their own sense of grieving, and I think that we sometimes don't really acknowledge that.
yeah, it's very different. I mean, thinking about other people that have had friends forever, and I can't think of one person, that I knew back then that I still know now.
Well, and you seem to have a habit or just a propensity to garner and gather resources from, you look until you find it, and then once you make an action step.
Mm-hmm.
That's so powerful, and that's a reason you're going to live into your 90s.
Right.
Because you've got purpose, you've got goals, and you move on them.
Right.
Stepping forward, and that's just marvelous. That's marvelous. So you've already given us lots of tips and advice. Anything you want to kind of conclude with, telling people what um, how to handle this?
It is that another thing that I've done. I spent 3 years studying quantum physics, and in that, we're going to see. My understanding is that we're going to see this huge change in our world within the next 5 years for people understanding that everything is energy.
Mm-hmm.
And if you raise your energy just a tiny bit, it makes this gigantic difference. I mean, one of the things now that I have, I also am about to have a certification in the training for Happy for No Reason,
Okay.
which is a wonderful book as well. But if you look at what you're going to be doing this next week, and you say, okay, is this going to raise my energy or contract my energy?
Mm-hmm.
If all of them, if you can raise your energy even more, it's great. But let's look at the ones that are contracting.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an example real quick. I had one of my clients that did this process, and they had a meeting that they went to every Friday, and it was their boss that did this, and it was like they felt it was a total waste of time. So, okay, well, what can you do? Think about it this week. And they came back with, it's around lunch. So what I'm going to do is get lunch, bring it to the meeting. That's what they did. And all of a sudden, they weren't so bored. There was a little bit of upbeatness to it, and it changed the energy of it. And it's amazing.
Powerful. Good. Thank you so much. So before we start to close, I always ask, what's one takeaway that you have from this conversation today? And I'll start with you, Terri. What's one takeaway from what you've told us? And just one, kind of a closure.
Well, just to let you know, this is a first. I normally do not do podcasts. And I actually didn't really do a whole bunch except write a few notes. Um, and I am amazed that I didn't fall apart.
Good job. Good. Sandy, what are you taking away?
Well, I'm taking away the fact that we just scratched the surface with Terri, and that we definitely need to have her
Absolutely.
back, because she's got a lot of stories to share with us. And one of the things that we have done in our podcast, Terri, is we want to make it real. We don't want to make it slick. We want it to be something that people can relate to. And storytelling is one of the best ways that we can learn from each other.
And I think that I love how you talk about energy and how you garner resources around you. I mean, you kind of reach out into that quantum universe and pull things toward you, and that's fabulous. And yeah, Sandy and I want this to be a very organic conversation, not be any presentation, so we kind of pull people in about the stories, and we want to have fun,
Awesome.
and meet new people. So I want you to know that people are going to listen to this and really be touched. And
Sounds
so
good.
we thank you so much for coming on. And we're going to have you back. I've
Thank
got
you. Thanks for having me.
my brain is going on how we're going to bring you back.
Well, and thank you for being brave, Terri, because especially when it's something that is personal, like what you're talking about, that can be a tough subject to share and relate to. And so thank you very much for being a courageous woman and sharing with us.
Yeah. So hang on to the other side, Terri. I'm going to stop the recording, and then
Okay. All right.
we
Thanks.
need you to stay.
All right. Thanks.